Tonight, Ontario's top doctor says the risk of COVID infection is expected to keep rising until the middle or end of May.
It is clear that we are in the sixth wave of this pandemic.
But while Dr. Kieran Moore strongly recommends wearing masks indoors, he says he won't be bringing back a mask mandate at this time. Plus,
we've just finally cleared this intersection for the first time in more than 8 years.
businesses are once again bracing for years of construction as tunneling begins in the western extension of the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. And
we've stocked up on candles and Prosecco and champagne.
a new campaign called Dine In Do-Over aims to help restaurants get back on their feet by encouraging people to redo milestones and celebrations they missed out on in the past 2 years. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Ontario is not reimposing mandatory masking in schools or stores, despite a steep rise in COVID-19 infections. That is the word from the province's top doctor today in his first news conference in more than a month. Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has more.
Dr. Kieran Moore hasn't held an update since before Ontario's latest wave of COVID-19 began.
It is clear that we are in the sixth wave of this pandemic.
It's estimated that 100,000 people are coming down with COVID daily in this province, and this sixth wave is now expected to continue into May.
Yes, we're seeing a rise in risk, and that will be for the next probably 6 to 8 weeks that we'll have a rise in risk of transmission.
Despite that, no changes right now to Ontario's efforts to slow the spread. That includes no return to mandatory masking in schools, despite reports that infections are now spreading rapidly among students. Why not?
Individual risk is exceptionally low for hospitalization in that setting, for severe outcomes in that setting.
Ontario's mask mandate in long-term care, hospitals, and on transit is due to expire in just over 2 weeks. Moore says he's actively considering extending it. He is also strongly recommending that everybody wear masks in all indoor public places during this wave, not just those at greater risk. For some health experts, this call falls short.
You can say, I strongly recommend it as much as you want, but people still feel that it's an optional thing and perhaps not as important as it was in previous waves when it was clearly messaged that it was mandatory.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. People should be wearing masks indoors for sure at this point in time during the midst of a big sixth wave.
The Premier wants you to mask up too.
When you walk into a real crowded room, throw the mask on. No one's going to force you, but I would recommend it.
Moore says in comparison with previous waves, a lower proportion of those infected with COVID are ending up in hospital this time. And he says the number of COVID-positive patients in intensive care is expected to peak at about 600.
I still don't think we should be letting it rip through society because we have so many vulnerable people still out there.
One change announced today, the province is allowing a wider range of people to access antiviral medications if they get sick with COVID. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Whether you're seeing the effects in your children now or worry about the mental and emotional toll of the pandemic in the future, the City of Toronto wants you to know it's looking at ways to help families bounce back. The Board of Health has just published a report that addresses the impact of the pandemic on youth. Ali Chiasson has more on the findings and the solutions.
I think our kids have carried a great burden these last couple of years in terms of helping to ensure the health and safety of all of us. And I think it's time for all of us in all jurisdictions to really get laser focused on our youngest citizens.
The Toronto Board of Health aims to work with both the federal and provincial governments as well as the Toronto school boards to help kids recover from the pandemic, which saw their routines such as schooling disrupted.
There were unintended consequences that cannot be ignored.
Today, the Board of Health committed to studying the effect of COVID-19 restrictions on children and youth, and by 2023 come up with short and long-term strategies to help them recover, which, as Health Chair Joe Cressy points out, will be an uphill battle.
Anxiety's up, PTSD is up, emergency room visits for self-harm are up. Physical activity and access to healthy food is down, access to dental services is down. Many of these consequences have been disproportionately felt by children and youth in our city who were struggling before in marginalized settings.
The goal is to do better and to do right by the children who continue to struggle,
so that we can guide on a go-forward basis, whether it's dealing with future waves of COVID or whether it's dealing with other situations, to have a baseline that we can use to assess the health and well-being of our children and youth.
Some see the struggles firsthand.
There have been several switches to virtual learning over the past while. My daughter, who's in junior kindergarten, has had to transition to that a couple of times, and that's been very difficult for her.
All those in favor?
And with this vote, the city's pledge to assess and address children's health goes forward. As early as this week, children in grades 7 and 8 can catch up on any vaccines they may have missed since the start of the school year and school dental screenings. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Tunneling is now underway for the Eglinton Crosstown West extension. Now, it's hoped the 7 additional stops will help better connect Toronto, Etobicoke, and Mississauga. But as Talia Ricci reports, businesses are worried about the years of construction and disruption ahead.
They're the sights and sounds that signal success to all 3 levels of government.
Today is another landmark day as we break ground on a new tunnel for the Eglinton West Crosstown extension.
And these projects help us expand our economy, help provide more options for Canadians.
Ontario and Metrolinx have officially started tunneling the Eglinton Crosstown West extension. The 7-stop extension of the Eglinton Crosstown LRT will run 9.2 kilometers from the future Mount Dennis LRT station to Renforth Drive, operating mainly underground.
This transit extension will be good for families. It'll be good for jobs. It'll be good for investment. It'll be good for tourism. It'll be good for the environment because it'll get cars off the road.
But in the short term, it probably won't be good for the businesses affected. Up the street from Super Coffee was years of construction on Mount Dennis Station.
Well, it brings up mixed feelings for sure. I mean, we've just finally cleared this intersection for the first time in more than 8 years. This new construction kind of puts that in jeopardy, you know, and we are worried we aren't taking 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back in terms of making this a hospitable place for shoppers, pedestrians, cyclists, and cars.
Metrolinx says it will provide a support plan for businesses throughout the construction, adding its goal is to minimize the impact as much as possible. Cassandra Nicolau worries about what the dusty construction-filled roads will do for her business, but she's also looking forward to what the neighborhood could become.
We definitely need more people and more density in the neighborhood, and I know that that is part of the plan.
Rosemary Edward with Jane Alliance Neighborhood Services says improvements to transit in the area are much needed.
During the rush hour, it's really, the wait time is very long, and the buses are usually very crowded. So I do believe that Eglinton Crossing is really going to be beneficial to the community. You have good access to transportation. Business usually follows. Business follows, jobs come in.
Metrolinx says more work has to be done before it can project an accurate completion date. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police releasing security camera images of a man wanted in an assault and forcible confinement case involving a child. Investigators say last Tuesday afternoon at the Royal York subway station, a 14-year-old girl was approached by a man who put his arms around her. He then attempted to lead the girl away, even though she asked to be let go. Now, someone noticed the interaction and managed to pull the girl away. The suspect is described as having a medium build with short white hair. He was wearing a black baseball cap and was carrying a blue duffel bag with a black strap. Anyone with information is asked to contact Toronto Police. All right, time for a first look at your forecast with Victoria Fenn Alvarado at the Weather Network. And Victoria, a pretty nice day overall, even with the little bit of rain that we got.
It was quite pleasant. I have better news, though. Tomorrow's going to be even more pleasant. Spring-like conditions on the way. 4 degrees for your morning as we head into the afternoon. 14 degrees. Finally, April-like weather, and take a look at the icon, sunshine. We haven't seen sun in a little bit. This could be your opportunity to use some UV protection. You don't want to get a sunburn on the first sunny day of the season. As we take a look at other places around the GTA, London, 16 degrees. Windsor 15. We do have some rain on its way, but also with those temperatures, just remember if you're near lake regions like Lake Ontario is actually 2 degrees right now. So the breeze off the lake is going to be quite cool, but as you head closer into the city, you're blocked by those buildings. You might need to take off a layer. So be sure to pack an extra sweater, but also pack an umbrella. We do have some scattered showers, pop-up showers on the way. I'll talk more about this in your long-range forecast as well.
All right, thanks so much, Victoria. Ontario's Solicitor General was in Mississauga today, where she announced the provincial government is investing $267 million over 3 years to support local police services, including $1.5 million going to Peel Police to fight gang violence.
Local police know best what they need to combat crime in your communities. And these priorities have been highlighted in the Region of Peel's Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan.
The bulk of the funding will go to police intelligence sharing, expanding mental health supports, preventing crime in schools, combating bullying, sexual violence, and human trafficking. An additional $43 million is going towards training officers to better handle sexual violence and harassment investigations. The supports will go to 90 different police services across the province. Toronto Police are launching a week-long traffic blitz aimed at speeders. Officers say traffic incidents have already killed 14 people in the city this year, including 10 pedestrians.
Speeding, driving aggressively, and driving distracted are the leading causes of these most serious collisions, and we all have a role to play in ensuring that another family does not have to suffer the devastating loss of a loved one due to someone's reckless driving behavior. Our message today is a simple one. Speed kills.
Police will be participating in the Zero Tolerance campaign focused on slowing drivers down through to April 17th. 103,000 speeding tickets were given out across the city last year, along with nearly 1,000 for stunt driving. And so far in 2022, more than 21,000 speeding tickets have been handed out and 270 stunt driving charges have been laid. We've all missed a celebration or two or three during the pandemic when milestones like birthdays were marked over Zoom instead. Well, Restaurants Canada wants you to have a redo. It's launched a new campaign called Dine In Do-Over with the hope of giving restaurants a boost by encouraging people to celebrate the big moments they've missed out on over the past 2 years. Jessica Ng has more.
Here's to being out with you.
Weekdays are fair game for a date night. Just ask Robert Nichols and Elizabeth Munro.
The majority of our day, the majority of our life is like serving other people. So being able to go to a restaurant, have a glass of wine and dinner, we're being served. And we enjoy it.
Before the pandemic, we quite often go out.
For the month of April, Restaurants Canada wants people to eat out with a dine-in do-over. It defines that as making up for the moments you've missed over the pandemic by hosting a celebratory redo.
We've missed a lot over the last 2 years, and it's a good opportunity for you to get out.
To redo birthdays, anniversaries, and office parties, which play a huge role in helping restaurants make their bottom line.
We anticipate restaurants will be 12 to 14 months before they're back into a period of profitability, so they still need help.
The latest numbers from Restaurants Canada show during the pandemic, Ontario has lost nearly 3,000 restaurants and over 100,000 employees. They say with the increasing uncertainty with this next wave, those numbers could get even worse. That uncertainty affecting many, like Maple Leaf Tavern's head bartender.
A lot of people in the industry moved on. If we go back into lockdown, I might look into a different career because it's just been a constant battle of opening, closing, reopenings.
But he and other staff are feeling optimistic as people become more comfortable with dining out and celebrating again.
We've stocked up on candles and Prosecco and champagne. People are a little more relaxed, but also a little bit hesitant to come out. But it's slowly but surely opening up.
Hoping for more moments like this for April and beyond. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. The Raptors now know who they'll face in the first round of the NBA playoffs. They will square off against the Philadelphia 76ers with Game 1 set for Saturday. Greg Ross has more on what we can expect.
That's going to do it. After missing the playoffs last season, Raptors forward Chris Boucher says it's good to be back.
I'm just happy to be in the playoff. Last year, we didn't get the chance to do that, so whoever we were playing, I was just happy that we made it there.
The Raptors are considered the underdogs heading into their first-round playoff series against the Philadelphia 76ers. But recent history is on their side.
Kawhi up top, looks at the clock, turns the corner for the win!
Who could forget Kawhi Leonard's famous buzzer beater in 2019 that eliminated the 76ers in the second round? The Raptors are a very different team this year. They don't have as much star power, but still dangerous.
I think there is reason for other teams to worry, specifically the Philadelphia 76ers.
Not only have the Raptors won 3 of 4 meetings with the Sixers this year, they've also been one of the NBA's hottest teams since January.
Ever since the calendar turned to 2022, it's been a steady climb for this team, and they're peaking at the perfect time. They are getting healthy at the perfect time.
The pandemic hurt the Raptors for the past 2 seasons, forcing them to play home games south of the border. This year, it may actually help. Because of vaccine requirements to cross the border, Sixers star defender Matisse Thybulle won't be permitted to play games in Toronto, meaning he could miss as many as 3 games in the series.
The loss of Matisse Thybulle cannot be overstated here. When you have to face an all-NBA player in Pascal Siakam and your best defender is not there, that's going to be a big problem.
A factor not lost on TNT analyst and former Sixer Charles Barkley.
You factor in that boy can't play up in Canada?
Yeah.
I mean, I am really worried about my Sixers.
Pascal Siakam's put some big games up against Philadelphia.
Because they have nobody can guard him.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something.
Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes.
You know how I feel about Scotty Barnes.
This is a good Toronto team.
This best-of-7 series gets underway with Game 1 on Saturday at 6 p.m. in Philadelphia. The Raptors won't play a game here at Scotiabank Arena until next week when they come home for Games 3 and 4. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
The Honda Indy will be roaring back into town this summer after the pandemic canceled the race for the last 2 years. Hometown favorite James Hinchcliffe will not be racing this year. He has transitioned from driving to the broadcast booth. But 2 Toronto IndyCar drivers will be making their first ever starts here at home. Dalton Kellett and rookie Devlin DeFrancesco will both be in the race. Tickets for the July 17th race go on sale Thursday. All right, time now for a look at your extended forecast with Victoria at the Weather Network. And Victoria, tomorrow looking like a pretty good day to get outside.
Tomorrow is definitely the day to get outside because we do have some showers on its way for Wednesday. These are going to be pop-up showers, scattered showers in nature. You can see some areas popping up here. By Wednesday evening, it does linger on and then departing for your Thursday. Now, we have another story here that we're tracking at the Weather Network. By Saturday, look at our temperatures dropping down. We do get those double digits for the rest of the week, but really this story is major and not directly impacting us, but there's a couple reasons I'm telling you this. First off, we do have the rain here, but check out the snow up north in Thunder Bay, and that is because we have a historic blizzard that is going to be reaching parts of Manitoba and northwestern Ontario. I say this because if you are planning to travel along the Trans-Canada Highway, we are forecasting near impossible travel for that area, as well as the cold temperatures I mentioned. That is because the cold air is going to be coming in towards us. So we are protected on Thursday, 16 degrees. Still some scattered showers are possible. 14 degrees in London, 14 in Windsor. Still spring-like. But take a look at our wind gusts. This is actually good news. It will be breezy, upwards of 70 kilometers an hour across the shores of Lake Huron and Erie. But this is good news because the winds are coming from the south. So it's actually a warm wind. It's going to protect us for Friday as well, keeping us fairly in the spring range, 14 degrees for Toronto. Windsor getting to 13 if you're up in cottage country, 11 degrees there. But then take a look at Friday overnight. This is the cold air moving in from the prairies coming towards us. 1 degree in Barrie, and as we look at your daytime high on Saturday, 8 degrees in Toronto. This is March-like conditions already, so please take advantage this week if you can. If you can avoid the rain, do so. Head outside while you can because this warm temps is not going to last long.
All right, thanks so much, Victoria.
Thank you.
Finally tonight, Canada's First Lady of the Blues, Salome Bay, is one of 5 trailblazing women who are being showcased in the windows of closed storefronts on Yonge Street. The Her Story campaign is designed to bring attention to women's historical impact on Toronto. We spoke with Salome Bay's daughter about the significance of the display.
I'm gonna get there at any price. Stand aside, I'm on my way.
I hope that they're curious, especially since there's so much happening around her. And I think there are a lot of people that are curious. They hadn't heard her name when at a time Salome Bay was the name. She was an actor, a singer, songwriter, composer, not just songs, but music, director, playwright, philanthropist, activist, mentor. She just really went into life with her heart forward.
Her Story campaign is actually an initiative that started with the Toronto History Museums. The campuses along Yonge Street is actually from Alexander Street to Dundas Street. You will see 5 stories of these amazing women. The Downtown Yonge BIA is hoping that not only we brighten up empty storefronts, but also engage the community and start a conversation and see how their stories and the efforts that these women has done would actually shape the Toronto that we have today.
To a nation of a whole.
I hope that they're inspired because she laid a great foundation for a lot of us that are now here doing what we're doing, creating content or creating art, making space for herself and others because there was no space, not waiting for someone to make space for you. She was doing that in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, long before now.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. And we will leave you now with pictures of the newest addition at the Toronto Zoo. The zoo is celebrating the birth of a critically endangered Sumatran orangutan. The baby male was born on Friday, and both mom and baby are doing well. Have a great night, everyone.